Hi, your friend Claude here. Thanks for sticking with us. And now, part 2 of episode 18 of WAMCast. You got any entertainment or anything to update on?
Yeah, here we'll switch gears and go to entertainment wise, and serves you right, Hollywood. And I say this because the movie Pan absolutely bombed at the box office
Yeah,
this
good.
weekend. It made like $15 million, and I was actually thinking of writing an article about that too, about serves you right, Hollywood. I mean, and I've every every time I've turned on the TV in like the last month, like there's been a commercial for that movie,
Right.
and it just absolutely bombed.
Yeah,
And
15 million probably isn't even their advertising budget.
ew, they said that movie just production wise was 150 million,
Oh man,
and they made 15 million on their first. And you figure,
a tenth.
I think they say whatever it brings in at the box office, I think like 55 or 60% of it goes back to the studio.
Right.
So they only got 7.5 million back so far on this $150 million investment. And
That's like worse
I
than
mean,
Waterworld.
yeah, I know. Like that's this might even be worse of a flop than the Lone Ranger was. And then there you go again making a remake. But I say serves you right because it's just a remake again, and it's not really like a remake because it's like what happened before he became Peter Pan. Blah, blah, blah. But you're still using elements of a story that's already been written, and you're basically using it to push another story, and it's not original. And once again, it flops. And like I said, we don't know what it's going to do at the worldwide box office, but yep, serves them right. And I feel bad saying like I'm glad that it did so bad, but I kind of am, just because like Hollywood can deal with it. And it's big, and of course it was just a special effects monstrosity. With all the special effects they had to use, which is probably what most of the budget was, like employing all those people to do them. Um, but yeah, that flopped, so I'm happy about that.
Well, there's been um overall there've been something like 20 different movie, well, not all of them have been theatrical movies, but like 20 different like cartoons, movies, TV specials, whatever you want to call it, based on Peter Pan.
Yep.
Um, and a lot of them in the last 10 years, oddly enough. And I mean, even I think it was like last year around Christmas or maybe 2 years ago, NBC had like a live like play of it
Yep.
with like Christopher Walken as Captain Hook and stuff. Um, I mean, I love the story of Peter Pan. It's one of my favorites from growing up. It's one of my favorite Disney movies.
Hmm.
But I guess I'm sort of a purist. Like I guess I see the Disney version as close to like the closest, um, to like the actual official version or whatever. I
Hmm.
mean, there are some liberties or whatever taken in Hook, but I actually thought that was. I mean, that actually didn't do very well either at the box office. But I thought that was like really awesome. Like a
Yeah.
really like an example of a well done and creative way to sort of kind of twist it around.
Yeah.
And I think once that happened, like the floodgates were open to just take it in all kinds of fucked up directions. Um, I thought that the Finding Neverland, the Johnny Depp, where he played the author,
Yeah.
was a good one. I mean, it wasn't like a straight up Peter Pan movie, but there've been so many lately that it's like, why, yeah, you want to like we've harped on remakes and redos and stuff all the time in this show, and like you want to talk about something that's fucking like a dry cow that they're still trying to squeeze milk out of. I mean, that maybe Peter Pan is the top one for that because it's just constant.
Yeah.
I
It
don't really
really
get
is.
it. Like Peter Pan is like always, young, eternally youthful. So apparently they figure that, nobody's gonna get sick of constant imaginings of it.
Well, instead of doing that, if it's such a timeless thing, why don't you just remaster the original cartoon movie and put it on Blu-ray, or remaster Hook and put it on Blu-ray?
That
Stop just. I mean, all right. With the whole Hook thing, I know it's kind of like it's almost like it's like an oxymoron or something. We're saying, oh yeah, that was great, but see, I don't really look at that as being like a remake because it really wasn't. It was more of like a sequel. You know what I mean?
yeah.
So that was much, and it had a good cast. It had Robin Williams in that thing. It was well done. Like I said, from seeing the previews of this Pan movie that came out, it's just like a special effects monstrosity
Right.
where there's like no. It's like, okay, let's do this scene. Okay, well, let's just do it with computers.
Yep.
Like, okay, let's, like, you're talking about like Star Wars prequel trilogy area type of crap. You know what I mean? Where it's just like all it is effects. But
It's true.
but yeah, but you're right. Well, I had another point about that too. But oh yeah, the Johnny Depp one, it was Finding Neverland or whatever you said.
Yep.
But that was good because it wasn't necessarily like a Peter Pan movie.
Right.
It was like how the guy that wrote the book or the original story got his inspiration, and it was really a dramatic movie. It wasn't like a happy, oh, Peter Pan, and Fly Away to Neverland. It was like, his interactions with the people that gave him the inspiration for the story, so that made a good movie. And it's almost like the whole Saving Mr. Banks thing about how Mary Poppins got made into a movie. It's like the same idea that did well, and is from what I've heard, mostly it was done well, but it's not really like a prequel or a sequel. You know what I mean? So
right.
That worked out. But yeah, I mean, I don't even want to see this movie.
No, not at all.
I
didn't want to see the commercials.
Well, that's part of it. I mean, when you throw it down people's throats so much, like, you kind of lose like the, I don't really want to see it anymore, so I'm getting sick of seeing this commercial.
Right.
Who knows?
Yeah, Hook is a good point to re-release because, to my knowledge, to this day, the only like DVD release is like a bare bones like regular DVD that came out around like 99 or something. There's no special features or anything on it.
Yeah.
If there's ever a movie you want to see, like, a behind the scenes thing on or whatever, that's got to be in the top. I mean, it's a huge, elaborate production, and I mean, it was like a big deal when it was made.
Yeah. Was that Spielberg that did that?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I thought. He knows what's up.
Yeah.
He can do something quality. It's Spielberg.
Well, I mean, it's just amazing. Like, I was reading through some of the pieces of reviews that the people gave it when it came out, and I kind of like to contrast it with. Actually, let's see if there's reviews for the current one, because like some of the criticisms of Hook are, I don't know. I mean, to me, like, I'm biased because I like the movie, I guess, but
yeah.
I feel like it's a little harsh, a little maybe like off base for some of them. I'll read them.
Hey, these are the Hook reviews you said?
Yeah, this is Hook. It says, Roger Ebert felt, quote, the crucial failure in Hook was its inability to reimagine the material, to find something new, fresh, or urgent to do with the Peter Pan myth. Spielberg should simply have remade the original story straight for the 90s generation. But I mean, what about that wasn't reimagining the material? I mean, yes, it used the structure of Peter Pan. I mean, like we said, it was kind of a sequel. Like, what you want to do is just completely, like, change everybody's name and look, and you know what I mean? Like, what is he talking about? I mean, that was absolutely fresh at the time.
Well, see, that's the thing. Like, I think first of all, I think the Hollywood critic business in itself is just a complete scam.
Sometimes,
and I never listen to like, sometimes I'll agree with a critic or something, but I mean, it's really a crapshoot. Like, you never know, but like, see, that's dumb because the very essence of that movie is kind of a fresh take on it, because it's Peter Pan as an adult who has gotten so wrapped up in his adult life that he forgot what it's like to be a kid, and it affects his relationship with his son in the movie.
Right.
And his son gets disillusioned with his dad and latches on to a father figure that promises him, those to continue to be a kid and live like that. In Captain Hook, and then Peter Pan has to remember what it's like and basically win his son back. Like that's a perfectly fresh take on the Peter Pan story. Like what is he even saying there? Like it doesn't that review to me makes no sense.
Right.
This is my opinion. Whatever.
Yeah, no, that's what I'm saying too. A couple of other ones. Peter Travers from Rolling Stone said that it would only appeal to the baby boomer generation. What? Like,
No.
first of all, isn't he from that?
Yeah, and aren't we not from that?
Right.
So
pretty sure most of the people I know that review that movie are people that are like our age and younger. Somebody else said that the story structure wasn't well balanced because Spielberg depended too much on art direction. There was one.
What?
Yeah, I don't know. I guess it was. The criticism is that it's too obsessed with the visuals or whatever and it forsakes story for visuals, which is not something to me that applies to that movie.
No.
I mean, again, it's a fantasy movie about Peter Pan. You kind of need strong visuals.
Yeah. Well, a movie typically has to have strong visuals because guess what? You watch a movie with your eyeball. I mean, yeah, like I know what you're saying. Like you don't want to like overdo it where it's just visual and there's no story.
Right. You don't want to be Pan.
Yeah. Hence Pan. Hence what we've already talked about. Right. Hence the prequel trilogy. I don't want to go to Star Wars, but I'm just saying that's
exactly.
It's too much visual nonsense, is what it is.
It's true.
So yeah, shut up. And the thing is too, before you continue, I rarely agree with any kind of Rolling Stone review because half the time they have no idea what they're talking about. Sorry, stick to music, which you marginally are good at to begin with.
Yeah. Even with that, they're like they give an album 5 stars out of left field, and it's like what? And then like something, I don't know. Like you can just tell when they just like certain artists or whatever, certain things associated even with certain artists are always going to get a 5-star review. Anything Bruce Springsteen puts out is going to get at least 4. And I love Bruce Springsteen, but I mean, they're not objective. Come on.
No, it's not objective.
Anything associated with Nirvana is always going to get a huge. It's stupid. Sorry.
Yeah. Well, no. I remember reading a review they did about The Office in its final season, and the finale was coming up, and they were basically like trashing the show since Steve Carell left. And it was just stupid. I mean, they did say one thing that I agreed with was what they did wrong was that whole Jim and Pam growing apart thing through that whole season, which to me, I didn't agree with that either. But I mean, they were just trashing the show about how, the jokes were old, the characters like were stagnant, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, what are they talking about? And they like trashed the Andy Bernard character in that show. And I'm just like, like Andy Bernard in that show, I think was the character that had done the most like growing up, changing, completing, coming to an end that any other character on that show, considering all the steps he had gone through on that. You know what I mean?
That's true.
And yeah, I kind of like how they ended the show with Andy Bernard, and they were just like completely they basically didn't like the show because Steve Carell left, and they were just making up a bunch of stuff. You know? Of course, critical acclaim and being a critic of a movie or a TV show, it's all really a matter of opinion. I mean, you can get as technical as you want about a movie, but it really comes down to my opinion of it,
Yeah.
So.
Well, what I'll say about that is I think Steve Carell leaving wasn't necessarily a make or break thing. I think, the talent, behind the scenes talent was there to make a great show without Steve Carell, and I think Steve Carell thought that too. I'll go as far to say is that some of the last stuff that was going on in the show when Steve Carell was still there was kind of iffy and shitty at times. So it wasn't like Steve Carell's God and like every episode is flawless when he's there, and then when he leaves it's a piece of shit. I will say that I'm a fan of the Andy Bernard character, but I actually don't really care for what they did with him in the last season. mainly because it seems like they spent all this time doing what you said, putting him through these changes and having him grow and develop, like, like the relationship with Aaron or whatever, the
Hmm.
secretary there, and all that, and they finally get together, and then he just like does a 180 and fucks it up and becomes like an asshole out of nowhere. Like, I think a lot
Yeah.
of it had to do with Ed Helms' film obligations, and he wasn't really there for a lot of it.
Right.
That's why they sent him off on a boat or whatever. But
I'm on a boat.
I just felt like man, I've been rooting for these characters to get together, and like they put them together, and then they take them apart or whatever, and they
Hmm.
finally get back together, and it's like, oh yeah, whatever. Like, I'm an inattentive douche of a boyfriend, and I'm gonna send you to this, like, to the arms of like Jim 2.0, this character that exists for like a couple of episodes in the whole series. You know what I mean? It just
Flop.
that really bothered me. But overall, I'm a big Andy Bernard fan. I didn't
Yeah.
think I would be at first, but that's the power of what they did with him.
Yeah. Well, let me clarify. I'm not like saying we have to agree on everything. I didn't like that aspect of it either. How he just kind of like neglected Aaron and didn't really, I remember she went down to like the Saber store at one point and
Yeah.
was going to stay there, and he went down to get her, and that was like this huge thing.
Yep.
And yeah, you're right. I don't like that he kind of just like thought of her as like an afterthought after that. You know what I mean? Actually, I'm sorry. Can you pause that real
Yep.
quick? You can answer it.
Uh,
We're good. But and then with that being said about him, though, I didn't like I said, I didn't like how he like neglected the character. But then, I think what I always thought about him and what I always got from the performance was that he was really just like everybody else on that show or in real life is doing something that they don't want to do. And they haven't followed their dreams, and that's kind of like how the Jim and Pam thing kind of came to a head because Jim wanted to do that sports marketing idea. Yeah, that's what he really wanted to do. And Andy
right.
Bernard, he was always doing some dumb thing like singing or talking about his a cappella group, and I think that it really kind of showed you that he didn't really know who he was at a point, and then even when he went on that little boat trip with his brother and neglected his girlfriend back home and stuff, that was crappy, and I didn't like how they did that. But at the same time, it kind of showed you that he really just was a lost person, I think, when it came to like at least his professional goals, and eventually, he turned into the baby wham wham because he cried at the acapella auditions or whatever.
Yeah.
But he got to the point in his life where like nobody likes me. But then when he came out of the auditorium and all those people were standing there and they were like, "It's Andy Bernard," and they were all like "rip to do" or whatever, like that made him
Right.
feel good. And it's like, what, I am accepted for who I am, and I think that was like a great circle, except for that one little chunk with the Aaron thing. That was just kind of
Yeah.
like it would have made more sense to like her, like for him to be a good boyfriend, but for her to realize that he was too old for her or something, and maybe she just moved on her own or something. But yeah, just making him into like this not there idiot was kind of like what.
Well, yeah, it felt like counterproductive to everything they spent all those seasons building up,
Yeah,
and it was
and
like
even yeah,
annoying as a fan. It was like I felt like a slap in the face.
yeah, and like they spent all that time, like when they in the beginning of that last season when they made him the boss, and he lost that bet, and they were gonna get make him get a tattoo, and they were all joking with him, but then it turned out to be like the Nard Dog tattoo instead of like what they were gonna do.
Right.
Like that was awesome
Yeah, that was
because
great.
they were like, yeah, we love you, Andy, you're still our boss, like whatever, but we like you, and we're not gonna, I mean that was great cohesion for him being the boss, and it was just I don't think that they did a lot of wrong. When Steve Carell left, I mean, they did the best they had with who was left.
Right.
And all those years, like, yeah, people will say like, oh, Steve Carell is like the only reason that show was good and stuff. Actually, Steve Carell was the reason why the first season was not as well received as the other ones were because not it wasn't his fault. It was just his character's fault. Like you didn't care about Michael Scott
Right.
in those first like 5 or 6 episodes, until you showed that his outward personality was just like his insecurities, with being alone and, being a really fun guy, but he's in the position of being a boss, like you didn't get that sense in the first season,
Yep.
So, I mean, and all those other characters, like, the Jim Dwight feud and the Jim and Pam thing, that was just a big part of the show as Steve Carell was, so
Yeah,
like,
absolutely.
I don't agree with people being like, oh, Steve Carell left and it just sucked and I don't want to watch it anymore. I'm like, were you really watching it to begin with?
Yeah, exactly. It wasn't this fucking hollow vehicle for Steve Carell. I'm sorry.
Right.
Like, even Steve Carell would be the last person to fucking say that that he was the Office.
Yep. Well, I mean, he left too. Well, obviously, I think it was a lot of he wanted to focus on his movie career, but I think he even said that at one point it's like they've done all they could do with the Michael Scott character,
Yeah, I mean,
up to
to a
that point, and it was
yeah.
just like, this is a good time for me to leave the show, and I agree with that. Like, yeah, it was sad because like he was a big part of the show, but he wasn't the whole show.
Right.
Like, give me a break. Anyway, whatever.
Just quickly in other news, it seems that we covered like political correctness and stuff not too long ago, right? I mean, like talking about like Jerry Seinfeld's daughter and stuff like that.
Yeah.
It appears the PC police has struck again.
Yeah.
The public school system in Milford, Connecticut has canceled the Halloween parades at all their schools to be sensitive to all students' beliefs.
Oh.
Like, I mean, I guess, it was only a matter of time before something like that happened. Um, I don't know. I mean, I have, like, personally really fond memories of the Halloween parade and stuff at school growing up. And
Yeah.
I remember we had like a Jehovah's Witness girl. I think it was in like third grade, and the teacher, we were taking a test or something. And the teacher put on like one of those spooky sounds tapes or whatever, just to
Yeah.
like get everybody in the spirit. And she initially said to this girl like, if you feel uncomfortable or whatever, like you're allowed to leave the room or something. And she's like, no, I'm fine. And then like 5 seconds later, like the door clicks and she's gone.
Yeah.
And it's like, I can see both sides, but god damn it, man.
Well, yeah, I know. Going along with the Jehovah's Witness thing, like we had a kid that I grew up with in elementary school. Same thing, like he couldn't participate in like the Halloween party, the Christmas party,
Yeah.
and they just let him go home for the day.
Right.
Like there was never. I mean, to me, that's being sensitive to someone else's beliefs. If you let your kid go home if they're not allowed to participate in something, and it's not like they let him go home because he was in trouble. It was just a prearranged thing. Like, hey, starting at noon today we're gonna have our Christmas party. So if your son wants to leave and go home, that's fine. But see, to me, like as a kid, Halloween was never about a belief. You know what I mean? It was about me dressing up because I'm cool and being someone else that's like a fictional person and getting free candy. Like, what belief am I really? I'm a kid. Like, I don't really have fully formed beliefs or thought processes yet. So what are you talking about? Like, it's some freaking parent that threw a hissy fit is what happened, probably.
Well, it says, one of the, I guess, bylines or whatever of this one article I have says the principal at a certain school wrote in a letter last week that the Milford Public Schools decided to cancel the celebrations and ban costumes to prevent children from being excluded from activities. Like, are we at a tipping point where the number of children who can't or won't participate in Halloween based on whatever religion or whatever it may be is at a huge, large enough demographic where it has to take it away from everybody being able to do it?
Yeah, exactly. Well, and it just goes along with like even of course we're going back for nostalgic purposes again.
Right.
I remember one year our mutual friend Christian, his church had a Halloween costume party too, and like their only stipulation was like you can't dress up like something demonic, like you can't be a devil if you go to church to this. I mean that makes sense, right? Because
sure.
it's
Okay.
church. Like you don't want your people that go to the church to dress your kid up as a devil. That doesn't make any sense. Right. But no one complained about it because like I know that year I think I was doing something, but then I changed into like a pirate suit or something so that I could go to this church thing.
Right.
And like you said, like we said before, like if the kid didn't want to participate, you send them home, not as a punishment just because they weren't allowed to participate.
Yeah.
And it's like, why? You're right. It's coming to the point where, we'll use the old Star Trek proverb here. that the needs of the one or the few have outweighed the needs of the many. But logically, the needs of the many outweigh the needs of the one or the few.
Right.
And of course they talked to Spock about this and how it was illogical that the whole crew of the Enterprise risked their lives to save him. He's like, that's not logical. And they're like, no, they didn't think logically. They thought, whatever. So my point is that like, yeah, why, like you said, why are like one or two kids who are feeling threatened or their parents are feeling threatened, it's going to ruin it for everybody else. It's just like, what, if you don't want your kid to participate in it, then just, like I said, just keep them home that day. Don't let them participate. Right. Be like, hey, teacher, I don't want my kid in the Halloween parade. Can you sit in the library with the librarian and do something on the computer for it? You know what I mean? Just what's the big deal? Why do you have to get it canceled for everybody else?
Yeah, it's one day a year, and it's not about. Sure, it might have its origins, just like Christmas. Let's be honest. They have their origins in religion, but again, like whatever form they are currently has nothing to do with any kind of religion other than like obviously Christmas has the word Christ in it, but like
right.
There's no ceremony. There's no. I mean, maybe people go to church or whatever, but in terms of how Christmas is perceived and executed in homes around the country, it's simply a celebration of the season and consumerism, and Halloween is kind of the same thing. It's the season, it's the fall, it's the dying of all the trees and everything, and it's once a year where you get to sort of I don't know, just be kind of uninhibited and like pretend to be something else. I mean, what?
Yeah.
Seriously, like, can we just reach a point of I don't know, balance, I guess, or common ground? I opened up the actual article, and the quote from what the principal's letter said was that the cancellations arose out of numerous incidents of children being excluded from activities due to religion, cultural beliefs, etc. Well, how numerous can these incidents be?
Wait, and where did this take place again? Is it Connecticut somewhere?
Yeah, it's in Connecticut, Milford, Connecticut.
Huh.
I don't know.
That's interesting. I didn't know that was a hot spot for.
Yeah, right. That's
whatever.
Yeah, like is that like the Jehovah's Witness or whatever capital of the world? I don't know.
It's an enclave.
But like, I guess I pointed out because it's the first I've heard of a school out and out canceling Halloween. But my question becomes, is it the first of many? Like, where does this stop?
Well, that's what happens. It only takes one to start the snowball effect, if you will. They did it. Let's do it too, because we've been wanting to do it for years, and now we got an excuse. That's what it's going to happen.
Yeah, like either that or, for like, let's say the complainers now they will say, well, there's a precedent here. That's like, if they can do it, why can't you? Like, I don't know. I don't get it.
Yeah, and I don't get like how dressing up and getting candy really clashes with your belief system too. It's like I never thought of like worshiping the devil or something when I dressed up for Halloween. You know what I mean? Like, if that's what they're worried about, like, yeah, like we're talking about the origins. It doesn't matter where the origins were. What is Halloween now? It's a kid's holiday. Right. It's an excuse for adults too to dress up and pretend. It's fun. Right. It's not about some kind of existential thing that we're all trying to achieve or something like that. It's like kids want to dress up because they like to dress up anyway, and now they can do it and get candy for doing it. Right. And they can go to school and have a parade and show everyone their awesome costume. And then adults, adult Halloween party, let's dress up and get drunk it up, you know what I mean, and do that instead. Right. Instead of going to a bar in normal clothes. It's just so far from what it started out from. I don't even think about where it came from.
Right. I mean, yeah. I've never really been too terribly religious anyway. So for me, in my personal opinion, religion is the worst justification for anything possible. Public school is a function of the state in one way or another, and your religion has no place in that environment. So why are you getting Halloween canceled at all? Secondly, may offend you or whoever, but whatever. My personal feelings on religion are that it's kind of an antiquated cult situation that doesn't really have any relevance in a modern world where superstition and science don't have to coexist anymore.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
and that can be an endless debate, but that's just
Yes.
like I said, it comes back to separation of church and state. Like you just
Yes.
whatever you believe, you don't have just like the Kim Davis, the woman in fucking denying the gay marriage stuff. Like you just don't have the authority to mix the two. And then people keep catering to it though, which is just mind blowing to me. That like I don't know. These the same people that try to justify, I guess, to defend so hard like the Second Amendment stuff with the guns and everything. It's like
God. Yeah.
I don't know. It's like people kind of view religion the same way they view politics or whatever. They cherry pick the things that apply to them
Mm-hmm.
and promote those things, and then try to sweep under the rug everything else that doesn't fit their narrative in a way.
Yeah. Well, it's like the times they are changing. You better get on board or get out. Yeah, I was reading an interesting article, and of course, this is another one of those endless debates too about how basically the gun lobby rewrote the meaning of the Second Amendment to
Yeah.
like push their agenda, which they totally did. And I will fight you if you want about it. That's fine. Not you, but I mean someone that I don't really want to get into that discussion in this
Right.
episode.
That's a whole nother podcast length discussion.
Well, I know I was going to say we're going to be here for another 2 hours if we do that.
Yeah.
But you're right; it is something that's cherry picked, and you have idiots like Mike Huckabee, with the whole Kim Davis thing. Like, yeah, see, we should rally around her. We shouldn't do this because it's against our religion. No, if you're an elected official for the government, you have to follow the law, not like whatever your personal religious beliefs are. And they even said too that if she didn't believe in issuing those kind of marriage licenses, she could have let another clerk do it.
Right.
But she kept saying no because her name is on the paper, which to her implicates her as being an advocate for it just because her name's on the paper. And it's like, well, it doesn't matter if your name's on the paper. It's against the law. Like, you're an elected official. You have to follow the law. If you don't follow the law, then you need to get out of your job. And that's the thing. Like, they can't fire her because she's an elected official. They have to elect someone else to her position, or she has to, like, resign. Or they have to throw her in jail, like they did for disobeying court orders and not following the law. And like that's what it is. And even if like that whole office is against it, then the state has to somehow figure out a way to issue marriage licenses for that county because it's the law, and that's what it is. Like your First Amendment rights for freedom of religion stop. They like to use this analogy, and actually I think George Takei articulated this well too. Like your rights stop like at the end of your nose. Like you can't impose your beliefs past your own face. You know what I mean? So you can't make your office conform to your religious. That's like the establishment clause of the First Amendment, where it's like there is no establishment of a religion. You can believe whatever religion you want to, but we're not going to establish one. So if you can't reject issuing a marriage license because it's against your personal beliefs. If it's against your personal beliefs, you don't like it, you got to leave. That's fine. I don't care if you step down from your position because you don't believe in it and you don't want to issue the license. That's the law,
Right.
So you're right. They're cherry picking like little things,
Well, I guess my final point on the Halloween thing is,
yes.
I mean, I'm sort of still kind of forming it as I speak, but to me, it's one of these things that like the purpose of Halloween, regardless of its origins. The purpose as it's used today and has been for decades is to escape the, I guess, atrocities of the world. It's another form of like entertainment, basically. It's we're gonna do this on this one day of the whole year and forget about everything else and just have fun being something else and just being frivolous and whatever. So the only thing that things like this do is remove that, just chip away one more layer of, I guess positivity in the world, and I just can't understand how something like Halloween, is a big enough issue for people to complain to get it shut down, but not like any number of horrible things that go on in the world all the time, yeah, on a local and national level that like people are either completely okay with because it's, let's say they're Democrats and their president's doing it, or whatever it is. Like,
Mm.
there's a what I'm saying is there are a lot of things in the world to be upset about, and Halloween is not one of them.
Yeah, no, you're right. Um, yeah, it's just it's like I almost feel like it's people like, well, our voice can't be heard, we can't change anything, but darn it, we're gonna do this, and we're gonna make them get rid of it, and then I'll feel happy about myself. Like I'll feel fulfilled from taking away something from everybody else's kid.
You know what? That's a great point. I never.
That's just ridiculous.
That's exactly what it is. It's something that they actually can do, and they're gonna.
Mm-hmm. It's almost like we talked about it on the last episode a little bit about how the farce of like the government oversight, the House oversight, whatever the heck it was, grilling Planned Parenthood
Right.
about their stuff. It's like, you know what? Will you just focus on something that makes more sense?
Right.
Like I don't care what your belief on abortion is. Guess what? It's a legal medical procedure.
Exactly.
If you want to change it, go to the Supreme Court.
Right.
Don't like sit here and threaten. Like use your time to make the world a better place, not a crappier place. You know what I mean? And this whole and it's all these pro-life BS about like, yeah, they don't. It's not even really pro-life. It's like pro-birth.
Right.
As soon as the baby's born, then nah, it's out of our hands. Now they have every right to do that, but I'm not going to help you. It's just like
it's
focus. Yeah, it's just focus on something that you can change. That's going to be positive. And this is what it is. Halloween has nothing to do with anything, and it's someone whose own agenda. They can't push something else because they're too small of a voice. But guess what? Any parent, can complain and rally support for a school district, and they can get anything canceled now. Yep. It's crazy. And that's just the way it is. Like it's just they're focusing their energy on something they can change just because they can,
right.
And that's all it comes down to. And you just ruin Halloween for hundreds of other kids now because they can't dress up and go to school, in their costume.
Yep.
Like thanks a lot, jerks. It's like you don't. It's another thing too. If you don't like it, then take your kid out of the public school system and put them in a private school, like a Catholic school, if that's what your religion is, so that they teach them the religion in school because it's a private school. They can do whatever they want.
Right.
Like give me a break.
Exactly.
Like, shut up.
Yeah, it's a public school. It's a state-funded or state-run thing.
Mm-hmm.
So the laws of the land exist there. Separation of church and state exists there, even though it's supposed to, even though there's the pledge debate and all that.
Yeah. Yay.
Yeah. But yeah, it just comes down to like misplaced or misspent, misdirected energy. Like
yeah, it really is.
Yeah, it is. It's like the abortion point's a good one because it's that's always been the key point of that issue for me is how do these people have any time or energy to worry about something that isn't even born. You know what I mean? Like there's a lot of people that are born that are struggling and dying and suffering every single day that they don't give a fuck about, but suddenly you care about what's inside someone else's body. Like you've got too much time on your hands, man.
Well, and that's the thing too. You say man, that's a good point too, because like what 80-90% of our elected government is men, and they're trying to make laws regulating a woman's body. Like you don't even know what you're talking about. Like there was a dude, some idiot Republican House representative or whatever that was talking to Cecile Richards, who is the CEO of Planned Parenthood, and was saying, well, as a man, if I go, anywhere in like I think he said I want to say Detroit, it was some big city. Right. He was like I could find tons of places, to have like these machines and imaging. And I could get tested for stuff. So if you just took Planned Parenthood away, I could go to whatever. And I'm like, are you kidding? Like you're a man. Like Planned Parenthood is like 90% women's health care. Like It's not just like it's an abortion factory. Right. No, it's like they get like and you can get an annual exam there. You can get STD. Men can go there to get STD testing. I actually went like 10 years ago to a Planned Parenthood to get an HIV test just because the girl I was dating at the time wanted to make sure that, I was clean. I'm like, fine, I'll go get an HIV test. So I went to Planned Parenthood and did it. You know what I mean? Right. But it's just like it's that kind of idiot mentality. It's like, yeah, you don't care if Planned Parenthood closes down because you don't use them. You aren't someone who is poor or is just in need of health care, and you can go to anywhere you want. It's like it really is. It's complete idiocy to even say something like that, let alone put all of your time and effort to defunding something that federal funds aren't even allowed to be used for abortions anyway.
Right.
And then even the idiot is that Shavitz guy from Utah was the one that was starting the questioning and like head of this committee. He even said like, yeah, like we couldn't find any wrongdoing with the money that they used. So it's like you can't get an abortion on federal funds anyway. A lot of what federal funds go to are like Medicaid reimbursements, and yeah, they give grants to them for certain things too. Like I know that they get a grant for like the new Obamacare stuff. Like they get a grant to like train people on how to sign up for Obamacare and things like that, because that's a big thing of what they do now, that you can go and apply for insurance if you don't have any,
Right.
whatever. So like they just don't know what they're talking about. They just see abortion and think, let's shut it down. It's like, and the facts are there, man. It's like 3% of the things that they offer is abortion. You know what I mean? Like 97% of the procedures they do have nothing to do with it. It's just like, shut up.
Yeah, it's just another little fucking pet project to try to,
Yep.
achieve some political victory that completely found its face again.
Yep.
I don't know, man. Where's the sanity in the world?
I know, where is the sanity? Like, holy crap. And like, I don't want to be like one of those people, but it's so like that whole Republican war on women myth. You know what I mean? I don't even know if it's a myth, to be honest with you, but I'm not going to go on to like, a tirade about that, but that's really what it is. It's like they want to tell women what they can do because they are backwards thinking men from a bygone era that think that they're dominant and in control, and it's not the way it works anymore.
Right. Exactly. Well, I think I personally have exhausted all of my topics I wanted to get to today.
I didn't. The funny thing is, I didn't really have any topics. I'm kind of glad that you brought up stuff because I did have some strong opinions about things. But
well,
we can talk about guns next time if you want. That'll be a good one.
Well, I came into today expecting to because I had a lot to say, but yeah, you almost need to talk about only that.
Yeah, that might be a special. Well, the thing is, like, my liberal self, I kind of find it hard for me to pick a side on that issue too. I mean, because like both sides really make good points about things, and both sides really make dumb points about things too. So like, if I'm just like trying to make up my mind, I really try to use examples of my personal life, about the gun issue. Because like, as your dad, my dad, our uncle, they're hunters and they like their guns and stuff too. But like, I would consider them on the realm of like the responsible gun owner. You know what I mean? And a lot of my opinions about guns have been formed by my dad and our family. And then I see a lot of horrible things. You know what I mean? So to make a long story short, I find it difficult to pick a side.
Well, I see where you're coming from, but I don't. In my personal experience with those people that you mentioned, to those people and to my, the impression I got about guns from these people growing up is that guns are a tool. That's it. They're not an object to be fetishized. Yeah. Which is where we're at in the country in this debate. They're a means to an end. They're something that you use while you're doing this activity. Just the way, I use a chef knife when I cook, or whatever it is. A guitar player has a certain guitar. Yeah. It's a tool for an endeavor. And this whole like gun control debate has been going on since fucking time began, or whatever. Every year, a couple years, there's another issue that sparks it back up again. And I remember it happening while I was growing up, and I never once heard, my dad or Uncle Matt I don't really talk to your dad about it. But I never heard any mention from any of those people about they're taking our guns, and they were never ever even brought it up. They were never worried about it. It was never even a thing. It's like they didn't even register to them because it's ridiculous. Because guns will never be taken away. Yeah, that's not the point of gun control advocacy. That's not, it's not even realistic. No, especially with the numbers that are out there now. And I think that is just like any other issue that has strong opposing sides. Um, the issue is thrown out of focus to be presented as like the extreme version of it to distract people and get people fighting. It's ridiculous.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like I said, it's like you said, it's a tool. So it's like, well, did the gun kill the people or did the people kill the people? That's one side of the argument. It's not like, whatever.
Yeah.
I mean, there's so many different sides of the argument, and there's so many rebuttals and things for each argument, and it's really hard. Well, see, I kind of I'll say it's hard to make a decision, but I fall on the side. I think I'm starting to tip to the side of like more control because like all those people scream about it, about oh, you're just punishing irresponsible gun owners and blah blah blah. It's like, well, you know what? If you're a responsible gun owner and you're not a felon, you don't have a mental health issue, being stricter controls on the gun, like it might take you longer to get the gun, but you're still gonna get the gun. Yeah, and it's like exactly. just chill out. Like it's not. I mean, yeah, it's supposedly one of our rights written down in the Bill of Rights and all this stuff. But like I said, the gun lobby has completely distorted what that message or what that amendment meant. And it's clearly written to say for the establishment of a militia, they wanted people to have a gun so that they had to call on the militia again. They would have an armed force ready to go. It's not like you have this inalienable right that you can own a firearm. You know what I mean? It's like it's completely distorted, And like I mean, if you want a gun, be my guest, whatever. Just don't be an idiot.
Right. Well, that's the thing. I mean, I say it's a tool, but it's a tool that carries more specific responsibilities with it than any other tool that exists, because it's a tool created, designed, and manufactured solely for killing and injuring. Period.
Yeah, it really is.
I've said it before, like, a baseball bat was designed to hit a ball, but you can also hit somebody's skull. Yeah. I mean, a gun can be a paperweight, but that's not what it's for.
No.
Make no mistake. So anybody, like, it always struck me that anybody who is I guess a gun rights person, or foaming at the mouth about how important guns are, you'll never take my guns and all that stuff, it seems to me that they would actually be pushing for responsible control as well, because any time that a mass shooting occurs or any kind of horrible atrocity involving guns occurs, which I believe since our last episode 3 mass shootings have occurred, anytime that happens, it's making them look bad too.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah. So I would actually be supporting it if I was a gun owner. Like, yes, absolutely, you should put in as many, hoops to jump through as possible to keep it on the up and up, because I don't want to be lumped in with these maniacs,
Yeah. Well, did you see that video I posted? I think it's on my Facebook timeline. It was like some conservative Christian, gun owner in the South that actually made a lot of good points advocating.
Oh, yeah, I didn't get to watch that yet, but yeah, I want to.
Yeah. It's actually pretty good because, he's got like a little Ruger pistol that he's holding up. He's like, you see this, blah, blah. And he even says, it's like, you can come to my house right now and you can buy this gun for me if you bring me enough money. He's like, there's absolutely no law that says I can't sell you this gun.
Yep.
And it's true. Like, there needs to be a law like that. And then, he goes on, and there's a lot of, it's like a 12-minute video, so you got to really be like into it and want to pay attention. Right. But he says too, he's like, this is like any other thing that is dangerous. He's like, if you want to learn how to drive a car, you've got to go apply for a license. You got to take a written test. You got to take a road test to prove that you can do it. And he's like, the same thing with a gun. Like, if you want to own a gun, you got to prove that you can handle this safely, that you know what the laws are about this, that you're in a mental state where you can make a decision to purchase this thing. You know what I mean? There's all these other points, and it's like, yeah, it's fine. Like, and like, he's a responsible, quote unquote, a responsible gun owner that is advocating more control, because there really has to be a control, because like the guy involved in the Oregon shooting had like 13 guns or something like that. Now you're telling me that if he went and bought a gun and if they did a background check, they'd be like, hey, you bought a gun June, and then you bought another gun in July, and then you bought another gun in September. Like, why are you buying all these guns? Like, there's your check right there. Hey, look at this guy. He might be crazy.
Yep.
Like, I'm not saying that, like, mental illness is the reason that these people go on these rampages. I mean, I'm sure it's part of the argument. It's happened in some cases.
Absolutely,
there was a mental illness involved. What about that shooting in Charleston? Did that guy have a mental illness? No, he was a deep-seated racist who didn't like black people. You know what I mean? And, like, it's the same thing. He got a gun way too easy. I'm not saying, like, you gotta take your guns away. Like, you need to be careful about who you sell one to.
Exactly.
And you're right. And it comes in. There's other parts of these arguments too. It's like, why do we fetishize guns like we do in this country?
Right.
Like when the Constitution was written and they wanted, a well-armed militia. Do you know how long it took to load a musket rifle?
Exactly.
Yeah, you could, like, I think the best marksman in the world at that time could fire like 2 or 3 shots in a minute based on, like, those muzzle loading musket. You know what I mean? And of course, it's completely been I mean, it's like any kind of technology. It's been only getting better and better. Now, like, you have rapid fire. I mean, when was the first machine gun put out? Like, I think it was in sometime, like, at the end of the Civil War. They had that crank Gatling gun that could shoot off like hundreds of rounds a minute or something like that, or it was less than that. But you know what I mean? So it's like it was written at a completely different time too, and you need to relook at it and say, is this really something that needs to still be in here? We don't need a militia anymore. We've got the most powerful military in the world.
Exactly.
And all these people that say, like, oh, we need a gun so that we can overthrow our government. You think you're going to overthrow a government that has tanks and stealth bombers and drone strikes and, like, highly trained armed force? No, you're not going to do anything like that. So it's like, where's your priority? Like, whatever.
It's a completely it's something that's being it's a piece of legislation that is being forced to exist in a vacuum, to be frozen in time, when it's completely unrealistic and impractical for that to be the case. Like, it's being interpreted as, in the 1700s they were talking about guns, period, that exist now and that will ever exist. Like, so when we let's say we bullets are gone, we're using lasers to kill people. Like, that's still the same thing. I mean, where does it end?
It's like, it says I have a right to own this laser rifle that shoots an infrared beam you can't even see, and I'll fry your face off.
Exactly.
Like, what?
Our founders wanted me to have this.
They're like turning over in their graves right now, going, "What are these people doing?"
Well, the point that I always make about, I haven't really connected it to guns until pretty much right now, but it makes a lot of sense. I don't understand why the ability to create life and the ability to take life are two of the least regulated acts that we have, period, in our society. I never understood.
Do you want it to be like Demolition Man, where we have to, like, apply it to a lab to have a baby or something like that?
Not necessarily to a lab, but I do think absolutely there should be background checks for parents too. You know what I mean? They do it with adoption, well, not to, like, create your own. I mean, it doesn't make any sense. You should be you have to prove that you are fit, of sound mind and body, and able to care for a child financially or, in every other way, before you're allowed to procreate. Just like you should be before you're allowed to buy an object that could potentially kill somebody. I mean, it's like the two of the most serious responsibilities we have that are like treated as if they're, like, I don't know, like, cavalierly.
Yeah.
And I feel kind of along the same line. Well, I don't know. I feel that voting is up there in terms of being treated cavalierly when it should be treated more responsibly, but not necessarily that you should be, like, background checked or whatever. I don't know. But I always, my talking point or whatever, my own thing about that is that, I get a receipt when I go to the store to buy a Slim Jim. Like, even that's tracked. You know what I mean?
Step into a Slim Jim.
Like, there's a record somewhere of that. Like, why isn't there on much more serious matters,
Yeah. I don't know. I don't think I necessarily agree with having to, like, register to have kids. I mean, I don't know. Mistakes happen, but well, it's funny. I'll leave you on one thing I thought the Family Guy did that was funny years ago. And they're like little flashback scenes they have in the show. They did one about the founding fathers, and they were like, they were going over the Second Amendment. It was like, yeah, the right to keep and bear, or like, the right to keep bear arms or something like that. And they said, yeah, how can anyone possibly get that wrong? And they showed like someone with bear arms attached to their wall or some like actual arms from a bear. They're like, yeah, how could they possibly misinterpret that? And then like, they went on the show, and I thought that was funny because it's like, it's totally been misinterpreted now. They obviously didn't mean, to keep arms of a bear, but yeah, I thought that was funny. So yeah, we can get in depth into that if you want. I mean, we kind of did hit some good points, but yeah, there's a lot of statistics to pour over too if you want.
It goes on and on.
Yeah, so we could do that next time or something. Yeah, so I'm all done. I have nothing to talk about. We've been talking for 3 hours, so well, no, like what, 2.5 maybe. Yeah.
Any Star Wars topics to hit at all before we leave, or?
Nope, but the Rebels premiere will come out on Wednesday, so next time we record, we could probably, I could talk about that. So yeah, there's some stuff coming. I haven't gotten any of the new books yet. I'm going to wait till payday to get a couple of the Journey to the Force Awakens. I told you I did get a box of those, Star Wars Topps trading cards, like the actual physical cards, and I'd say I'm actually kind of impressed, for the price of what they are. You get some pretty good stuff in it, so.
Right.
Grams and they have some reprints of stickers like from the old 1977 set, and you get a patch card. They manufactured like these patches, and I got the one with Rey, and it has like a patch. It's pretty cool. So yeah, those are pretty neat if you like to collect trading cards, and they have a really thick cardboard stock too, so they don't get like bent easily. So it's definitely a good product worth the price. Yeah.
So have you been doing anything in the app lately?
No, I've kind of like put that on hold. I've been trying to get the Empire Strikes Back illustrated set. They released the final 25 cards. I think I've got like 16 out of 25, and they go off sale like in 2 days, I think. So I'm trying to save up my credits and get those. But I've had to trade, in the app to get other ones. And of course, I have to do something ridiculous, like take 2 of my duplicates and leave me one that I need, so that people will actually trade with me. Can't just do 1 for 1.
Yeah, of course.
So, but yeah, they've just been releasing too much stuff. I can't keep up with it, and it's like.
Yeah, I tried the like ones that are designed to look like band posters or whatever. Kind of seemed cool. And I tried for one of those, and it was just impossible. So I said, "Fuck that." Plus, I think they're like 7,500 a pack instead of 5,000.
Yeah, well, that's the way those illustrated set I'm working on. It's 7,500 a pack because you get a guaranteed insert. But I keep getting doubles of the ones I already have. It's just like. So, yeah. And I even tried to go after the new location set. They did like the Yavin 4, and then now they're doing Jabba's Palace, but I can't keep up with it. Like, I don't have enough credits. They're doing it because they want people to spend money.
Oh, yeah.
And I refuse to spend any more money on it at this point because we just don't have extra money for me to spend on something stupid like that. So
I've been pretty much strictly just getting the classic art ones when they come out, if I can catch it. Like, I only get the green ones if I can get them. But even that's like, I'm only doing that because I like them. I liked how they look, and all that. I don't have any hope of getting like a complete set.
Yeah.
But I did start trying to go after the Jabba's Palace one. I'm kind of dubious about it though because it's like a 22 card set instead of like 13 like the last one was. So it's a little more ridiculous. And the colors have changed on this one. Like blue is now the lowest one.
Yeah, and blue is like the highest one on the Mos Eisley set, or the rarest one. So it's like, I'm confused.
So right out of the gate, the first one I got was gold, and I'm like, fuck, I can't keep this up.
Yeah, I know, like, because that's the one you don't want. I mean, some people want to go for like the easiest one to get because it's the easiest set to build, but then you'll be pulling it, and you're like, yeah, I got it, but it's the middle tier one. Exactly. You should be able to trade that real easy, but you can't. You got to do some kind of ridiculous thing.
I have to give you that, and then 3 other unrelated inserts that fucking with low counts. It's so stupid.
I know. I mean, I enjoy it, and of course, here we are trashing it. But I mean, we really do overall like it. It's
I'm still on it every day.
Yeah, no, me too. I'm getting my credits and I'm going after my cards, but it's just really hard. But no, I mean, I think that classic art set's pretty good though, because they only do like original trilogy, characters and stuff, because that's what it is. It's the classic art from the comics, and I think that's actually a pretty cool set. But I never really got into it because they were hard to get. Because like the whole time they've been doing it, even with like that Series 1 set that I don't even think you're on the app yet for, they would do the same thing. They would say, "Oh, classic art's dropping for 2 hours."
Right. Yeah.
It was like 50 odds or something. That was really hard. But
There's 2 points about that when I was doing it yesterday, I wanted to bring up with you. One of them
Hmm.
is wow, did I really just lose them both? Oh, one of them is one of them is it seems like I don't know if you have gone through this, but I'm starting to notice kind of a like a not really a trend. I don't know what the word for it is, but so it seems like when you first get the app, maybe for the first month, you're like really into it and like almost more willing to spend real money and like man, I gotta get this, I gotta build this up, and then it's like after that, it's sort of like okay, well, I'm fine with just taking my daily credits and conserving them until there's something I really, you know what I mean? Like it's not as feverish, I guess. Do you find that at all, or?
Yeah, I do. And I'm finding because like I remember like at first like oh man I got to go after that card set like oh man I really need that but now I'm just like I don't really need that. You're right. I mean I don't feel as feverish to get it
Yeah,
anymore. Like I am definitely more. I mean I always log in every day to get that 50,000 bonus instead of the 25,000 and yeah I mean that's what I was doing for a while especially with the Moss Eisley set. I was saving up the credits so that every time the new card released even if I bought 10 packs and then finally got the insert I was looking for, I still had like 50, 60,000 credits left
right.
over. So that eventually it got to the point where like I started getting it was the Empire Strikes Back cards that I depleted my credits down to zero. So now I'm waiting every day to get my 25,000. I can only buy like 3 or 4 packs with it.
Exactly.
So yeah, I'm saving it for what I really want. And of course, The Empire Strikes Back is my favorite Star Wars movie. So I figured the illustrated set that goes along with that would be the one that I'd obviously want.
Right.
Regardless of the rarity. But yeah, because I mean, you pull those steel cards off that thing, like they're like at 40,000 as the pull rate, so they're not really like quote unquote valuable on the app. But
Yeah.
I'm gonna have a full set of 100 cards, which is crazy. So hopefully there'll be like a good award for it. But
Yeah.
yeah,
Well,
you're right though. I do kind of just bide my time now, I guess.
I was a lot more interested in that set, particularly um,
Hmm.
when it was like the picture, like the picture on the quote unquote wrapper of it
Yeah,
is like a painting, like the poster, and I thought they were gonna look like that.
yeah.
So I was kind of disappointed. So that's why I was like, nah, I'm not gonna go after this. Plus, it just there's so many of them.
Yeah. Well, I think what it was, I started out, I had a lot of extra credits, so I was just buying them for the heck of it. And then
Right.
before I knew it, I'd actually collected the first series. I was like, oh, well, maybe I should just try for it. And it turns out it's a 100 series set. So at that point, I was like, crap, I'm so far into this
Yeah.
that I might as well just try to get the whole set and spend my energy and my fake money on that instead, So that's what I've been doing.
My
So yeah, who knows what I'll do after that, but.
right. Well, my second thing was
Hmm.
it's just kind of a I don't know a novelty thing I noticed. Um, so I've got a couple of friends, that you can add people or whatever as your friends. I got a
Yeah.
lot of them that are I'm up to like 13 now, but like some of them have like a 90 something collection score and like
Whew,
you
yeah.
know ridiculous numbers of cards. And you go down through their cards and it's just like wall to wall inserts, like everything you can imagine. And it's like Jesus
Yeah.
Christ, like you know, and my first instinct is to go like, well, they must have spent a fuck ton of money on this, and not necessarily. But then, so yesterday they released that thing where it was like a New York Comic Con exclusive. If you spent 900,000, you'd get like these 4 hypercolor inserts of these certain characters or whatever.
Yeah.
I saw that deal. I'm like, they didn't have, in the transmissions they don't tell you the price. So I'm like, I looked at it and it's like you have to spend at least 300,000 to get any of those inserts. I'm like, okay, never
Yeah.
mind, fuck that. So like, I thought to myself, well, this will be a good chance to see who's got those and who's dropping that
Yeah.
kind of money. And I went through like 3 of the top guys, and sure enough, there they are. So it's like, okay,
Yeah.
obviously there's my answer. These people are just putting hundreds of dollars into it.
Yep.
Jesus.
Yeah, I know. I kind of. It's almost like it's like one of those. I like to call it the app culture, because like it's just these people that do these apps and they trade and stuff, and a lot of them refuse. They're like, no, I don't spend any money. I just trade for everything that I want. It's like, yeah, right. They for some reason people don't want to admit they spend real money on this
Right.
stuff.
It's
Like yeah,
obvious.
yeah, I know we've spent real money. And the same thing with that other game I used to play, that Star Wars Force Collection, where it was like the trading card game.
Right.
Like all the people that I was like allies with and stuff, they're like, yeah, I never spend money on this. I just get lucky with one card and I trade for it. I'm like, there's no way
Okay.
you can have all these cards by trading for it. And like this guy, that it was like my first ally, and I've been allies with him on that app for years. We actually kind of had almost like a friendship kind of going on with like messaging back and forth and stuff.
Right.
And he was another one of those guys too that was like, yeah, I don't hardly spend any money on this thing. What are you talking about? I'm just like, how do you even get away with that? Like, he's got one of the strongest formations I've ever seen. Like, rare, like, evolved cards that are just so powerful you can't beat him if you ever fight him. And it's like, yeah, right, you didn't spend any money in my butt. Like, you had to have spent, like, money on this, because the only way they give out, like, those, like, rare cards on that are if you drop money on it. It's
right.
just like,
Well,
for some reason, they don't want to admit it,
Especially with what we know about how difficult it is to trade. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? Like, there's no way you're given 5 cards for 1 every single time. I mean, come on.
Yeah,
Especially,
I know, and these are, like, actual, like, sanctioned digital cards that technically have some sort of value, and it's
Right.
like, yeah, it's so hard.
Yeah.
But you got to either give up your firstborn child to get something, or people are like, oh, I'm not going to trade you that. Like, it's just whatever. It's totally worth it. And,
Well,
all these, like, quote unquote experts of what's rare and what's worth something, It's
right.
like, the only card I know on there that's worth anything is from that vintage set. It was the Han and Millennium Falcon vintage card. They only printed like 1,500 of them, and someone sold one on eBay a couple months ago for like $150. So, like, that's the only one I know you can get a good dollar amount for it. Huh. So, yeah, you basically just take a screenshot of your card, put it on eBay, and you can be like, yeah, this card I remember those pink cards they released. There's like 10 of them. They were selling those for like $700 or $800 on eBay.
Damn.
The people that got them, and like, I don't know if they sold or not, but that's what they were listing them for.
Right.
And you'd see like 25 people are watching this item because the people were thinking about it. Like, whoa, it could drop $700 on a fake card? No way, Jose. You're crazy.
And I wouldn't even do $700 on like every insert possible,
Yeah, no, like, it's just, I mean, yeah, you'll spend a couple bucks every now and then just because you kind of want to get something, but I'm not going to spend $700 on a card. Well, that illustrated set they put out, they have like the illustrated premium box where you get one guaranteed illustrated card, and all the rest of the cards are gold, and it's like 20 some cards. It's like 500,000 credits.
Yeah.
Like, to buy that many credits, you have to save up for like months to get 500,000 credits, or you got to drop I think it's like $100 for 900,000 credits. So that would be roughly $50 to $60 to get that much credits to get that one. It's just like, it's not even real, So I don't know. I mean, I easily spent $20 on the actual trading cards because they're physical in my hand. I can put them in a little plastic sleeve. I can bring them over to your house and be like, "Ooh, what I got?" And then you could buy some, and then when you come up here to watch the premiere, which you're totally going to do, we could trade. You know what I mean, or something. So that's pretty cool. But this is just like, yeah, it's neat. Look, it's on my phone. Okay, now I got to take a phone call. Like, where'd it go?
Just as an aside, I did go to the local Walmart just to see if they had them. They don't have them. They don't have them anywhere.
Oh, you know what? Sorry. Didn't mean to interrupt you, but Walmart sucks. They don't have anything. I found mine at Target. Like, our Target had like 8 boxes of them over by their little trading card setup. So I would check Target if you head up to Ithaca or anything like that.
Yeah, Target's always been a better store to shop at anyway.
Well, they just have better quality products too, and it's not like the dredge of society shops there either.
So. Exactly.
Walmart's cheaper, but those will be the same price. Like, they're not going to discount them. $19.99. It's definitely a valuable. You get a lot of value from the $20, I think. So it's definitely worth it. And there's some other like ultra rare inserts they put in there, but like I said, I got like 4 or 5 hologram cards, and it's like a 9-card set, so I completed like half the set with one box. And the patch card's pretty cool. I don't know how much they're going to be worth, like, for real, but if I mean, we collect them for the nostalgic purposes, I think. I do anyway.
Yeah.
So it's like, I'm not looking to make money off of it.
I mean, you're still talking to somebody who's to this day has untold fucking hundreds of dollars of Star Wars action figures in a storage unit.
Yeah. I have some. My storage unit's my parents' house, so. So that's where we're at. But that's cool. So next show we could. No, go ahead. Sorry.
Well, we can stop recording if you want, but I'm gonna send you the link to. Actually, I don't even think I have it right now. I have to get it from my brother. But they posted a real estate listing for my parents' house with like pictures of the inside. It's totally different now. It's so crazy. So,
parents should go buy it back.
Well, I thought about like for a brief moment I thought about asking Tony to buy it and then like trying to pay him because he's offered stuff like that before. But it's like I'm already like mad because I gotta work Mondays to pay my rent, and you know what I mean? Like I can't. He
Yeah.
would own me the rest of my life if I did that. Like it would be
Yeah.
awesome to be
Thanks, coach.
like to go up to my parents with the keys and be like, "Look what I got for you," you know. But
Mhm.
I just can't. So,
Yeah. That sucks.
but yeah, not
This
to
is
end
terrible.
not to end on a down
Yeah.
note, but yeah, it is interesting to see like the fucking night and day difference. I don't know.
Well.
Because it's one of
Well.
those like I don't know if you watch those shows. Like I watch a lot of HGTV, and like I never really realized like how those house flip shows really like get their houses, and this is like what they do.
Yeah.
It's fucked up.
Yep. Take some little unfortunate clerical error, and there you go. Like it's ridiculous. Oh well. Well, I guess we can talk about next show.
Yeah.
Like we said, we can probably get more into the gun debate topic if you want. And I'd like to look at it objectively for most of the conversation because I don't really want to like throw out my allegiances yet. I mean, I know, maybe we should, but like I said, for me, it's been difficult to pick a side. And we
Well,
can
I
look at
think
all
that's
aspects of it. So
I think that's beneficial to like a discussion anyway, because like
yeah.
because you're on the fence, then you're gonna have like you're gonna present the whole story. You're not gonna be the Fox News of the issue, you know.
It's not even news, man.
Right.
I don't even know why they call it that. It's just people randomly spouting their racist bull crap, but whatever. That's for another topic.
It's news the way McDonald's is food, I guess.
Yeah, exactly. Well, we can talk about that. Like I said, the Rebels premieres Wednesday, October 14th, so we could probably talk about that. At this point, by the time next time we record, we'll know if the Mets have won their series and moved on to the National League Championship Series or not. Did you see what happened in that game, last game?
No.
That Dodgers player Chase Utley, who used to be a Philly,
Yep.
took out the shortstop and like broke his leg or something. And they suspended him 2 games for it, but he appealed it. So they haven't heard the appeal yet, so he can still play. You can bet you right now tonight Matt Harvey's pitching. If Utley's in that lineup, he's going to drill him. He better.
Right.
Well, I mean, it was dirty to me because he didn't even slide until he got to the base. And because like when you're trying to break up a double play, you do like a hard slide, but you actually slide into the base and try to like disrupt the player. He didn't even slide until he got to the base and like basically banged his head against Chihada's leg and flipped him over.
The fuck?
And then on top of that, they called him out. They did a review. Like Don Mattingly, the Dodgers manager, said, I don't think he touched the base. They looked at it. He didn't touch the base, so they called him safe. And that's it. They didn't even call interference or nothing. So basically what would have happened was they should have called Utley out for interference and the runner at first out because he directly interfered with throwing the ball. You know what I mean? So that would have been end of inning. That play allowed the tying run to score. They ended up scoring 3 more runs that inning and lost 5-2. So they came out and did a great game 1 and won 3-1. And then in this game, they lost because of that stupid play. And when the MLB looked at it, they said, okay, he's suspended because it's obvious that his intent was to take him out, whether or not he intended to hurt him or not. So now we're 1 game apiece out of a 5-game series. But you got Harvey on the mound tonight, so hopefully we'll get another win. So I say we're on the Mets or something.
So this is going to be the beginning of the end, isn't it?
No, don't go there yet. Remember, I showed you that article on why they're going to be unstoppable. But they got through the 2 toughest pitchers on the Dodgers, Clayton Kershaw and Zach Greinke, and they actually played pretty well. So now we're back into, what do you call it? The not so good pitchers. So, but we still got Harvey on the mound, so we got a good shot.
Right.
Okay, I got the link here for your parents' house.
Yeah.
25 Albro Road. Such a shame. They plant trees there too, or something?
No, those are our trees.
Uh-huh.
They're just shooting it through the leaves.
This is ridiculously different. Holy crap!
Right?
Wow, that is not your bathroom. Sorry.
Nope.
But wow, that's like really different, and especially with the kitchen too. Oh my gosh. Like they retiled like that whole thing, didn't they?
Yeah, they like retiled like where the dining room was and everything.
Yeah, that's crazy. That is absolutely crazy. Wow, that's kind of sad and crazy, and I feel all sorts of things there. That's just terrible.
I know, it's like a mind fuck, right?
Yeah, man, that's crazy. Wow. Okay, that is kind of a downer. Thanks a lot. I hate you.
Oh, I didn't want to.
Okay.
I didn't want to suffer alone.
Yeah, no, that's cool. All right, so yeah, next show we'll talk some baseball, we'll talk some Star Wars, we'll talk some guns. I love my guns. No, I don't have any guns. Do
I don't.
I?
My thing is like, somebody at work made some fucking weird comment about how I seem like the kind of guy that would, I guess because I'm negative or whatever about society, they said, oh, you're probably one of those kind of guys gonna walk in someplace and shoot somebody or whatever. I'm like, I barely know how to spell gun, let alone fucking use one.
That's a terrible like. That's like not even a nice thing to say. You know,
I
like,
know it's pretty crazy.
it's
Pretty
like you look
extreme.
like you could commit mass murder. Like,
Yeah, right.
what? Like that's terrible. I don't want to look like that. How do I not look like that? You know.
I mean, I don't know. I guess there's a nugget of relevance to what they say, but like, just because I point out like the ills of society doesn't mean I'm not a jovial person. Like nobody's ever fucking said that to me, so I thought it was really like, are you serious?
Well, yeah, I think like when you're not talking about issues, with society and in the news and stuff like that, like yeah, you're a pretty easygoing, fun guy. You know what I mean? Like I've never thought of you any different. Like yeah, I know well, a lot of what we talk about can be negative. That's because it is negative.
Right. It is what
Yep.
it is, I guess.
It is. All
So,
right, sounds good. So
I guess
we'll sign off for now, and
that's the end of this episode.
we'll chat at you next time. Okay, whatever. Cue the music. I can't remember it.
All right.
All right. I forgot how it went, but